Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Office 365 Pulse. Adam should be joining us here in just a minute. He's wrapping up another thing that he has going on, another meeting. But we are here to share with you the updates from this week. We do not have a ton of updates, quite a few things in development. And before the meeting, Tamara was telling me how very excited she was about the things in development. So this week, we will let Tamara kick us off and share with us about some of the things that are in development. And we'll get going through the list and then head over to then what is rolling out and what has been launched. So Tamara, take it away. Tell us about the exciting things.
Fabulous. I am excited about so many things that are in development, but I'll only take a couple of them to share with you. And then if we roll back around,
You'll take
um,
more.
I'll take more. Um, One that really just made me happy, and it's really stupid. It's SharePoint, and it's people cut out tab for stock images. So the stock images tab inside the image file picker will now include images of people without a background. I am so excited about that. It's so lame, but I'm so excited. So if you have like different color backgrounds, you'll be able to put images on there and the color of your background will just come through. No more trying to having to match it or searching for or having a big white blob on your page.
Yeah, this is one of
So,
those delighter features. It's
Yes.
one of
yeah.
those, it's like no one really needs this feature, but it is going to delight so
Mhm.
many because everyone needs it. Yep.
It really is. And then the other one that's got me really excited is Microsoft Lists visualize with Power BI. So visualize your
Yes.
list in Power BI. This is a new view and author experience that auto generates an initial report for you based on the information in your list. So you can specify fields to create from or update the visuals shown in the report. And if you want more advanced report authoring capabilities, you can move into the edit mode and further refine. So to create a report from a list, click the integrate menu, choose Power BI, and then you'll see visualize the list. And that's coming out in June. So we've got a little ways to wait for that. But that's coming out like everywhere GCC, GCC High, DoD,
Everybody gets it.
and
You
you
get
That's
a
get
Power
exciting.
BI list, and you get a
visualization.
Power
You get
BI list.
visualization.
And you get an E5 licensing and you get an E5 license.
Oh, too funny.
Yeah, so those are the two things that really have just got me giggling with anticipation.
All
It
right,
takes
Tom, I'll let you
yeah.
go.
So a couple things, also SharePoint related, of course. SharePoint and Microsoft Teams. So rich previews for pages and news articles. So if you have a page that is a news post or a news article that you have in SharePoint, if you then take that URL and paste it into the Teams chat or one of your channels, those links will convert into rich cards displaying the page title, image, author, and published date, which I think is kind of cool because it'll give you some context of what this page is doing in addition to the link itself within that Teams environment. So I'm looking forward to that one. That should be June. And then this one should be out like any day now because we've only got 5 more days before it expires. And that is audience targeting for the events web part. And in this particular case, right now, if you have an events web part, just all the events show up, you're going to be able to target specific events to different audiences, which could get a little tedious at times, putting different audience targeting on different events. But again, it may allow you to have one audience or one events web part out there that looks a little different for everybody based on what the events are and based on what audience targeting is. So have a look for that. That's supposed to be out by March,
I
which
think
it is.
that's going to be great for there's birthday cake in the break room, but you've got
Exactly.
multiple buildings, so it's not in your break room because that's just a lot of disappointment.
Yes, that's just built in. Yeah, that's not a delighter.
Mm-mm.
So, yeah, keep a look for that, and we'll let you know when that comes out.
Awesome. Well, I'll cover some syntax so that it all comes together. There's about 3 or 4 things that we're working with there. So first thing is form processing, so support for custom Power Platform environment. So when you're processing and using the form processing model, you'll be able to specify that the AI builder and Dataverse storage can be hosted in a custom Power Platform environment. So previously that was limited to the default tenant environments. You're also going to be able to have some document understanding model improvements. And so what that means is they're improving the way that the document understanding model works. And so you're going to be able to rename some things in there. And that's the model, the AI model of how it's learning how to read your documents and learning how to do the artificial intelligence piece. So they're improving upon that. We'll probably see that continue to improve upon for years and years and years. They're also working on in development. This one is probably not one that the syntax users are going to like. So this is one you should be paying attention to. Upon expiration of your license, they're going to be disabling your ability of building and using the model experiences for unlicensed users in the user interface. So this is one that up until now, even if you were unlicensed, if you had been licensed, and then you were no longer licensed, some of the features are still available to you. So that's getting cleaned up, and then you're no longer going to be able to use it, which should happen when you're unlicensed. So that is something that you're going to want to watch for, look for. So those are the things that they're working on in SharePoint Syntax. We will continue to see so many changes here in the SharePoint Syntax coming to an environment soon to you, but those are all in development now. So I will pass it. Did Adam happen to join us? I've got it covered up. Adam's
Adam has
here.
joined us.
Woohoo!
Hello, guys.
Hello.
Welcome back, Adam. Do you
Thank
have
you.
anything in development that you would like to share with the world?
Yeah, there's a couple cool things this week that they announced. One that I definitely liked, they're going through and doing the idea of being able to add encryption to emails by a label. So right now, the best way you would have to trigger this would be you'd have a rule that was an exchange transport rule that maybe looks for a keyword and a subject or something like that. But then you're basically dependent on your users going through and having that flagged and it's staying in there. Now you'll basically be able to apply a label, which if you remember a couple weeks ago, if you watched our show, the ability to apply labels is coming by default to all the Office suites. So being able to basically apply a label that says this needs to be encrypted, and then once that label is applied, it's going to stay through the life of that email. So say there's an email chain going between the 4 of us, and the first email I send out, I throw on that tag that says it needs to be encrypted, then all the future replies and everything is going to have that encryption baked into it, which is just cool. It's a better way of handling it than having to have an exchange transport rule and stuff like that. So it's kind of nice and definitely a cool default thing that they're adding that I like to see. The other thing I'm going to go ahead and point out that I thought was kind of cool, if you go through and you look a little bit further down, this is something that's actually going to be relevant for one of my customers in particular. So there's pretty complex Adobe integration that's been available through SharePoint through a program called Adobe Sign. So if you're a company that uses a ton of PDFs and stuff like that, Adobe Sign, there's some other ones out there, DocuSign, some other third-party integration stuff like that you could go in and integrate with your SharePoint system for a while that would allow you to sign documents if you had the appropriate licensing and stuff. The ability to do that with SharePoint has been there for a bit, but they're basically adding an integration inside of Teams. So basic Adobe Sign integration for an approval apps in Teams, and an additional Adobe Sign integration for an app in GCC High and DoD for Teams. So if you're an organization or an agency or a company, whatever out there that has this virtual signing that you do as part of your workflow or part of your document handling process, you're actually going to be able to add that integration directly into Teams, which is cool and something nice to see.
Very nice.
Very cool. Well, we do have a fun one, literally one that says it is here for more fun and expressiveness. So we are going from 85 to over 800 emojis with a category selector, skin tone selector, and short code picker. So this one is really important for diversity. So I don't know that we need to go from 85 to 800 to hit the diversity mark. So it might be a little bit of overkill, a little bit of a stretch goal, but I have had days where I will do nothing but speak in emoji and GIFs. I'm almost there this week. So to my internal team, I'm literally almost there. So it's going to be a fun day tomorrow. It might be Emoji Friday, but
I'll be able to
800 of
pick
them.
my exact tone of pale. It's going to be wonderful.
Right. Are they going to have translucent? Because
That's the
almost everyone
exact
on this
word I
call,
was
that's our
thinking,
skin
Jen.
zone.
That is the exact word I was thinking.
But that's going to be fun. So we'll see what the 800 are. Let's see. How long will it take me to use all of them?
Mm.
In one meeting with Jen, it's just going to be a chain emote going off her screen.
That's all it'll be is emoticons.
So I've got a couple that are out there that are
Oh,
Microsoft
you
Teams.
beat me.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
You sure? Am I
Yeah,
gonna pay
I'm
for this
sure.
later?
Don't take them all.
Okay.
You're brave, Tom. Brave.
Okay, I'm going to leave the one that I think she might be going for, and I'm going to go to the other one that I hadn't flagged, but I want to talk about it now. So Microsoft Teams, the breakout room timer and room assignment retentions. So now what you can do is if you're setting up breakout rooms, you're going to be able to set a timer, and at the end of that timer, the rooms will close and everybody comes back to the main room. I will admit I've not been in a Microsoft Teams meeting that has breakout rooms, but Tamara and I were taking a Italian course, and it was via Zoom, and they were doing breakout rooms. You'd be, doing whatever the practice thing was in your little breakout room, and all of a sudden you'd see this pop-up going, "Your room will close in 59, 58, 57." I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Well, that same feature now is coming to Microsoft Teams, which will, be yet another thing that puts it on parity with Zoom. So I think that's a really good thing. That says March in terms of release, so it should be out any day now. Now, go ahead, Tamara. Which one were you going to take?
Okay, that was one of them, but that's all right.
Okay.
Microsoft Teams improved experience in the meeting participant roster. I've been having a lot of problems with my participant roster lately, like people disappearing from it, like the space for them still showing up, but then them disappearing. So I can see they're doing a lot of development with that. This is due out in March, and they're changing how the participant list is displayed in Teams meeting for the lobby, in the meeting, and presenters and attendee participant sections. So a maximum of 20 participants for each of the sections will be displayed in the initial view, but you'll have an option to drill in and view more participants within each section. So for the lobby, you can review the full list before you admit all into the meeting. And the roster will display details of the most active participants in the meeting arranged in alphabetical order. So there are no changes to the participants action menu though. So just be aware, it's just how they're going to display everything. And then also users can now search, well, not now, but coming out in April. Users can now search in the meeting participants from the roster. So there will be a search box in the roster, and users can now search in the meeting participants, and they can continue to search for participants outside the meeting and request them to join the meeting.
Nice.
And then one other thing about meetings is spotlighting multiple members. This is going to be great for a town hall or a panel that
Or
you're
an Ask
doing
Me
in each
Anything
meeting,
session. That would be great. Yep.
or an Ask Me Anything session. And it's going to allow organizers and presenters to spotlight up to 7 participants simultaneously during the meeting. And that's coming in April.
Yep. Well, I saw another one for meetings that I thought was really, really awesome for this one. There's a couple of things. You can lock a meeting with from additional joins. So if you get into a meeting, you don't want anyone else to join. Hey, we've started, we're locking it up. We can lock it so no one else can join from any device. So they'll get a code. Hey, the meeting's been locked. We can also give a digital code. So a user can join a meeting by entering a digital code. I think that's a good one as well. And then there's also bypass settings and stuff like that for the lobby that are going to be coming out as well. And then Tom, did you have more on your list? I had 2 more that I liked, but I'll let you go if you've got some.
I had
I
one
have
more.
one more as
Oh, and
well,
and
too.
Adam has some too. Go.
Well,
Go.
let
Whoever
Adam go.
wants to go.
Let Adam go
But
first, and
there's
then I'll take
zero
mine after
chance you
this.
have mine, Tom. So go ahead.
Oh, trust me, I'm evil.
Oh my, evil.
Okay, I'll do mine.
He's
really
not
quickly.
really.
He's not.
I'm a fluffy kitten, right?
Mhm.
So Microsoft Teams replying to specific messages. When
I
you're in a
love
chat,
this.
Yes, this one
that's
is
the one I thought
great.
you were going to take, so I was going to leave it for you. If you've got a chat going on in a channel and there's a lot of activity, it's really hard to track who's replying to what. And sometimes you read thinking that you're, seeing a response to what's before it, and you're like, that makes no sense, but it was like 4 pages ago. Now you're going to be able to reply to a specific message, and it will actually quote the original message in the reply text. So it'll help you follow contextually. When the guy said that sucks, is he talking about that entry that was like 4 pages ago, or is he talking about the thing, I feel great today? It's like, that sucks. You can now tell what exactly he wanted to say it sucks
When I
about.
think about this feature, I think about Discord, which is oddly enough like all the rumors are Microsoft's and talked to by Discord this week.
Yes.
So like that's where I really think of this feature, because it's a very common thing you can do there, and just so happens to be the week Microsoft's like, cool, I might drop a cool 10 billion and buy that product.
Exactly. So I think that's supposed to be out in April. So I think that's going to be a cool feature of chat in Microsoft Teams. So
Yeah, very cool. All right, Adam, what do you have, sir?
Yeah, so I have a nerdy one, but this is something that I've got a lot of hands-on experience over the last month or so that I've kind of fallen in love with to a certain degree. So exact data match is a really cool concept. I've talked about it briefly on here before, but the core concept of exact data match is basically DLP on steroids. Rather than going through and looking for algorithms of patterns that you're trying to match, it literally gives customers the ability to upload the actual data they're trying to protect, and then like actually look for the real data as far as DLP policies of not leaking information. So perfect use case for this, for instance, is like a hospital with their customer records. If you want to make sure you're being HIPAA compliant and you can't leak your customer records, well, rather than having patterns that look for what could be electronic healthcare information, you can literally upload your customer records and be like, no, I'm not leaking anything. But understandably, customers are also terrified of giving up something so valuable and sensitive into any third-party entity, even if it's Microsoft, and the process around how you upload that data and stuff like that. Well, that's actual conversations I've been having this week with one of my clients about like, well, what does the salting and hashing look like? How secure is it? How do you have confidence in it? And one of the things that got added to the roadmap today was they're actually going to allow users to bring their own key into that process. So rather than just doing the salt and hash keys that are provided by Microsoft and automatically used in their tool, you can bring your own encryption key that you manage that Microsoft doesn't know and use those values to encrypt your data that's going to be salted and hashed and uploaded and stuff. So if you are a customer and this is something you're considering doing and you just want to feel more secure about it, Microsoft is kind of listening to that feedback and with something that's relatively new and giving customers the ability to bring their own encryption keys as well too, which is pretty cool. Because like, again, this is a conversation I've actually had this week, so kind of cool to see it pop up on the roadmap.
Very cool. Well, I have one last one before we switch over to, well, if anyone else has one, they can go after me. But I have one last one. Does Tamara have another?
Apparently,
yeah.
she's applauding over there.
Okay. Well, one that I have is they're working on Microsoft Teams preventing phone users from being able to unmute themselves in meetings where you have those settings done. So basically, they're going to be able to press *5, which will signal them being able to raise their hand in meetings. So it'll look to the organizer as if they've raised their hands, and then the organizer will be able to interact with them and unmute them just like they would be able to do if they were using the computer to dial in. This will give them the same experience as the computer user. It will give them the same experience as, for the organizer to make it easier and not be disruptive to the meeting. So I'm pretty excited about that, giving that phone. I mean, of course, they'll have a different experience because they won't be clicking in there. They'll be using a keypad, but it will give the same ultimate end user experience for everybody. So that's a good thing that they're working on developing there. All right, Tamara,
that's
take
exciting.
it away.
Okay, I've got two things.
All right,
I
wrap
told
us up,
you there
girl.
was so much in development that I was excited about.
I love it.
One is in Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, there will be contact cards accessible from the Office web when collaborating in real time. What that means is that when you're working with others in an Office file at the same time, so when you're doing co-authoring, you can now access people's contact card directly from within the Office web application. So you click on their little flag that shows that they are in the document and doing stuff, and a contact card will pop up. So if you want to email them or chat with them or learn more about their organization, you'll be able to do that directly from the document. I think that is so cool. And then the other thing that I think is so cool is that Microsoft Teams present from PowerPoint to Teams. What this does is it gives you the presenter view in Teams. So you'll have the presenter view. So you'll see the slide that's about to come up. You'll be able to advance your slides. You'll see all your slides along the bottom. This just popped up for me the other day. I think I hit it by accident because now it's not there. But then you'll also have access to the participants pane and the chat and everything else, but it's all in one window. So you're no more going alt tab, alt tab, alt tab, alt tab to get to and from the Teams meeting to the presenter view of the PowerPoint presentation. I am so excited about this because I do this probably 5 times a week.
They also have real-time translation.
That's
integrated
the
with
other
this
one
already,
I was
which is
going to
cool.
ask about that. Yeah, and the fact that it will take your slideshow that you're showing, so you'll have your text on your slides and the whole bit. It will translate that slide to like, what is it, like 10 different languages, 15 different languages.
Yeah, I had a customer that used stuff like this heavily. They had a big presence in Japan. So they do corporate events, and they would just do live translation into Japanese, so everyone could watch the same meeting.
Well, and what's nice is if you choose to do this slideshow content translation, it does it for you privately. So, there can be 100 people in the meeting, 99 of them are all watching you present in English, but one person goes, nope, I'm more comfortable in seeing this content in Spanish. They go to the translation for Spanish. They're now seeing the slides in Spanish, but it doesn't affect the speaker. Speaker doesn't know, speaker doesn't care. So I thought that was just really cool.
All right. Well, I believe that the rest of this meeting will go pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pass rolling out to, I think, Adam, because there might be 1 or 2 things for Adam in rolling out. And then if anyone has anything beyond that, but I believe this might be a 1 person and done for each section. I may be wrong, but let's see how it plays out. But I think this will be a very fast finish, ladies and gentlemen. But Adam, how about you take us through rolling out?
Yeah, there's a couple of quick things. One, just if you've already started using it, when you go through and look, if you're using advanced e-discovery, what used to be the search tab in there, which translated to the old content search, is evolving to the collections tab. That fits more the nomenclature and naming convention of the rest of the advanced e-discovery features. So just not really a change of functionality there, just naming. It's also worth noting that if you do stuff in the compliance center and you're the government side, there's going to be an audit retention dashboard that's just a single pane of glass. It's easier to see what you're doing with your audit records. Besides that, there's a whole bunch of updates around Edge that have moved from what we talked about previously from in development into rolling out. So stuff for Edge version 0.9, TLS token binding for policy configured sites, new print rasterization mode for non-PostScript printers. That's going to affect hardly anyone. And then removing Chromium-based MDM configuration policies for Microsoft Edge for Android and bulk delete passwords. The only one that's probably relevant there is basically in Microsoft Edge version 90, you'll be able to delete multiple saved passwords in a single action. So if you use the password manager inside of there, you could go through and clear out a whole bunch at once. I think most people probably don't use the default saved passwords actions. You hopefully at this point are using LastPass or some sort of third-party integration add-on that has a little bit more security. If you're not, take this as a sign that you should be using something like LastPassword or Better Password Manager and delete saved passwords you might have in your Edge browser. Because you can do it all at once now.
Cool.
There is only one other one that I saw that I thought was really great is the custom attendee registration for
Yes.
Microsoft Teams. So you can add a custom attendee registration page to any meeting or webinar, and then before and after any engagement, your users will see it. And then following registration, attendees receive an email confirmation and a calendar invite. So basically making it so you can use Teams more like a webinar type platform that people are used to, so they can get a follow-up email and then it's in their inbox. Then they can say, added to my calendar, all of those things that they have come to expect from those tools. So that's rolling out. I'm very excited about that. Very excited about the ability to do
so
follow-up
happy.
emails. So that's coming. And then there's something, the email notifications and project, those types of things are rolling out. We had talked about those in the development, so they have just passed into the rolling out phase. And I think that's everything for rolling out. So I'll pass it to, how about Tom? Do you want to take us through launched, if there's anything through launched?
Yeah, I'm done. Anything for you, Adam?
Adam,
the one thing that's worth noting, well, there's a couple nerdy things there, but we've talked about it a little bit. They now have moved to fully launch the idea of doing auto classification with sensitivity labels for the Gov clouds. So we've talked a couple times now, even mentioned it earlier, the idea that the default Office suite can do classification. There's both manual and auto classification. If you're on the Gov clouds, that should be fully rolled out now. Similar to what I just mentioned before, for Edge version 89, which is one previous to the 90 we just talked about, they had several releases going off. If you use Edge and you're really curious about that, you can go and take a look at what there are, but there's just multiple things in there for Edge that are going through and being done. And then finally, I'll say that for MIP, they're adding Teams location picker supports for security group and distribution lists. And this is the idea of DLP things will let you go through and choose certain sections. You can do DLP saying, okay, I want to only do DLP for this security group or people in this location. So that way maybe you have a rule that, okay, well, I can't leak certain information if I'm from this certain office or worried about certain things. So rather than scoping by team or scoping by application, you can actually scope what you're doing in DLP by certain security groups or distribution lists, which is just another cool way to do classification. And specifically speaking, where I see a use for this is, well, maybe I want to have different DLP policies for what I'm doing for my C-level execs than I want for my average users, or maybe legal is going to be handled differently. So rather than just having them in a separate team, I can actually manage them regardless of what team they're in, just by security group or DL, which is kind of cool.
Awesome. Well, then finally, we have two items in canceled. They're really the same item. One is for enterprise and one is for GCC, H, and DoD.
Oh, okay.
It's the Microsoft Compliance Center. It's the Processed Audit Insights in Advanced Audit. So when you hear insights right now, what you should be thinking is Microsoft Graph, and they're pulling insights from who I am, what I'm clicking, and what I'm doing. That's what insights is. So they're tracking a behavior based on who I am and what I'm doing. And so in the Compliance Center, they were going to gather insights based on what I'm doing and who I am and patterns and all of that. And if you've been kind of watching the industry and stuff like that right now, it's a pretty touchy subject. It's one of those, just because I can doesn't mean I should. And where's the line in the industry of what they should be doing and what, where's Big Brother, where's all the pieces? And Microsoft is doing a very good job navigating that and managing that. And so we've seen things come on the roadmap, come off the roadmap, especially in this insights area. So this one has been, they're basically saying we're reevaluating it and pulling it off the roadmap indefinitely. So that basically means it was in development and now it's out of development. So they haven't released more pieces about it. We don't have a lot more information. I'm guessing they ran into a area of concern, and instead of leaving it on the roadmap indefinitely, they'll pull it back. They'll bring it back if there's another piece. And so not really shocking at all, giving what it is, but also probably nothing to worry about, especially in the area of compliance. They have to be super tight and strict. So I wouldn't lose much sleep about it. It's just, one of the areas that they were going after. They're doing a great job. At least, in my opinion, if you watched a couple of months ago, there was some things with insights that came out, and they released some stuff in first release, and then actually pulled it back and made some changes based on feedback and response in the industry. So the Office 365 team that's rolling that out is actually doing a really great job being responsive to the industry on that. So that's, I'm sure, all that this is. So that's our canceled item this week. Anyone have anything else? Or I think we're ready to kind of wrap it up. I knew the end would go real fast. Well, awesome, everybody. We will be back next week with another show. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
I know.
Bye.
Bye, guys.